you want some?" the boy asked. "There's plenty to share." I watched his little pale hands scrabble at the dirt and wondered why he was out here so deep in the woods. He was covered head to toe in muck and had torn a hole almost a foot down into the wet earth. "They hide them here when it's dark," he said, his eyes wild, "but I still find them." "Find what?" I asked. The little boy giggled. "The truffles, silly." I felt a flutter of excitement in my stomach. Truffles are worth more than gold these days. Smelly black wads of rare fungus that could pay off my mortgage, send my kids to college, and buy me a fancy new sports car. Finding a truffle site in this part of the country was like falling wallet first into your own damn gold mine. I unclipped my hiking rucksack and dropped it onto the ground, and then got on my knees beside him. "How many have you found?" I asked, digging my fingers into the soft mud and raking a fistful of it aside. "Plenty," the boy said. "Enough for both of us to eat." "Oh, I won't be eating them," I said. The boy smiled. "We'll see." We dug for hours. Inch by inch, we excavated the dirt until the small clearing looked like it had been targeted by intense mortar fire. "Are you absolutely sure this is where you found some before?" I asked the boy, for what felt like the 100th time. "Definitely," he said, his little arms scratching at the ground like a dog burying a bone. He had kept up his frantic pace all day, but I was much older than him, and I felt my arms growing heavier with every passing minute. I had already eaten my protein bars and drank my water hours before. My body was crying out for sustenance. I wanted to stop, but I told myself I would not give up until I had a pocket full of those smelly black diamonds. They were calling out for me from deep inside the earth. By the time night fell, my hands were numb and bloody and caked in muck. The boy was still crouched down, furiously searching, except he was naked now. Had he been naked when we first met on the trail? It had been so long ago. I scraped another handful of dirt from the hole, and my fingernails snapped backwards against a rock buried within the mud. I winced, expecting pain, but there was none. My hands were too cold to feel anything. I plucked off the dangling cuticle and popped it in my mouth. Waste not, want not. It tasted of nothing except grit and blood, but it woke a hunger in my belly that whispered and begged and would not be denied. The morning sunrise brought with it a torrential downpour. My clothes were drenched, so I removed them all and tossed them away. The slick mud felt wonderful on my bare skin, somehow primal and ancient, as if I had slaked an inexorable urge I never knew I had. I was still hungry, so hungry that my stomach twisted and wrenched in distress. The boy seemed content with the worms, peeling them from the earth and slurping them down like writhing strings of pink spaghetti, but I craved something more. I looked at my hands. The broken skin on my fingers had first turned blue, and then eventually black. They stank of something sweet and musty and tempting, like slightly off meat. I felt nothing when I bit down on my thumb, yet the skin split and the bone cracked in my teeth with relative ease. I swallowed the sour, cold chunk. When it slipped down my throat, I could almost hear my stomach whispering gratefully. "Hey, can you smell that?" the boy asked. I heard him snuffling against the ground like an excited pig. "Quick, I think I found one." I rose to my feet and looked across the clearing. The boy was hopping in the air and waving his hands, his skinny body almost translucent in the moonlight. I felt a rush of delight fill me up like thick, hot cement. How long had we been burrowing in the mud? Days? Weeks? It felt as if I had never been anywhere but here, down amongst the insects, searching. Would my wife be looking for me? I suppose it didn't matter. She would understand my absence when I returned bearing our fortune in fungus. "Come on, silly, help me get it out," the boy called. I climbed out of my own hole and ran as fast as I could on trembling, exhausted legs. The boy was heaving something from the ground, massive and dark and long. If it really was a truffle, it would be worth more than I could imagine. I reached out to offer my hands, but in my excitement I had forgotten that they were mostly gone now. Over the last day and night I had chewed the sweet-smelling black meat from every one of my fingers, leaving only the jagged bones jutting from my tattered skin. I would never be able to grip anything in my decimated hands, but the exposed, skeletal prongs were ideal for raking the dirt. "Isn't it a beauty?" the boy asked, pulling the enormous object free of its resting place. "Hidden here in the woods, forgotten, wasted." I looked on in wonder, my stomach growling. Who would discard such a thing? The boy knelt down and took a gigantic bite out of our earthy jackpot, groaning in satisfaction. I started to salivate. "Try some," the boy said, pulling me down beside him. "It's to die for." The same slightly foul, fascinating odour that had emanated from my dead fingers was now filling the air with temptation. A sweet smell of decay. There was no way I could sell something so exquisitely appetizing. When my teeth sunk into the fragile flesh, and my mouth filled with its aromatic juices, I groaned too. The flavour, it was divine. We feasted until our truffle was stripped down to its alabaster bones. Then we cracked them between our teeth and teased out the marrow with our probing tongues. We ate and ate, morsel by mouth-watering morsel, yet still we were hungry. I plucked out the milky sunken eyes and swallowed them like raw oysters. We drank the thick, clotted blood like wine. We broke open the swollen belly and savoured the succulent treasures within, even though most of it had already been claimed by the worms. It took us the best part of a day to devour the whole thing. Our bellies were distended and full of the rich, forbidden delicacies. The boy and I wasted no time and started to dig again. I had never eaten truffles before, but now I couldn't imagine eating anything else.